Good morning. Good morning. This is the Bin Checkin In podcast. My name is Binyam. Today is July the 23rd, 2021, episode 16 of the Bin Checking In podcast. Good morning to all of you coming in on the TikTok live stream, on the Instagram live stream, and also on YouTube live stream. Starting a little bit later this morning, a little bit later to see how we fare for attendance. A suggestion I got along the way yesterday was to consider trying a little bit later because that might be a bit of a better time slot for most of you guys. And so here we are. Glad to have you guys join in. Thank you for being a part of this episode 16 of the Bin Checkin In podcast. Today we are answering the question, how do you feel when you first wake up? How do you feel when you first wake up? That's the question we're considering today. On the Bin Checkin In podcast, we do three things, or attempt to do three things. First of all, we want to grow an awareness of ourselves. We want to grow an awareness of ourselves to get to know ourselves better. Secondly, we want to learn to be kind to ourselves. And then thirdly, we want to maximize our happiness. So these are the three aims that I am aiming for when I go live on the Bin Checkin In podcast. This is what I want to do for myself by way of a discipline so that I can share my progress with you guys and encourage you guys in the same way and see what that looks like for you as well. So it's my encouragement to you to come along for this ride here as we consider these self-reflective questions. Today's question has more to do with our presence. How do we feel when we first wake up? As I endeavor to go through these disciplines, one of those pillars again that I want to aim for is maximizing my happiness. I love being able to do so, and I want to share with you a resource that I put together. It's like a mini course of sorts that is available for free on my website, binyamastris.com/happiness. And this is my resource where I share with you some ingredients that I found along the way that have really served me well in being happy. So check that out, binyamastris.com. And yes, I do sleep. I have Tigrinya asking, don't you sleep? It seems like I don't sleep because I work a lot, and that's an area of my life that I am trying to work towards more balance in, because I sort of weigh heavily on the work side. And so I do acknowledge that's an area that I once used to take a lot of pride in, that I was a hard worker and I used to push myself that way. But in this current season, I am seeing the benefit and the importance of having good balance in my life. So yeah, glad to have you guys in from Ethiopia and from all over the world. Thank you for joining in. My God, Mr. Binyam. Thank you, K-Man. You are so kind. Glad to have you guys coming in. I see you all chiming in. Today's question that we're answering is, how do you feel when you first wake up? When you first wake up in the morning, what goes on in your mind and your body by way of feeling? I'm going to share some of my thoughts. But before I do, I usually like to consider, analyze the question and the importance of it. I must say, I've never answered this question before. I've never even thought of this question before. I've never thought of the idea of considering and reflecting on, how does my body feel? How does my mind feel when I first wake up in the morning? This has been one of those questions that I'm like, yeah, I just wake up and away I go. And I was thinking, man, what kind of a question is this? What kind of a question is this that I'm considering answering? Because it just seems like, K-Man says, I feel like my brain immediately starts wilding when I wake up. Wilding when I wake up. So does that mean you're already like going at a high speed of like, what's going on in my day? Yeah, that's an interesting one. So like, it seems like you have a lot on your mind, K-Man? The reason I think that I like this question, even though I've never thought about it before, and it was a struggle for me to consider this question, because I'm like, well, how do I feel? Like, I saw this question coming up yesterday and I thought, what a funny question. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's always racing, says K-Man, and overthinking. Oh, goodness. I think there are many people who can relate to you, K-Man, who have that dynamic where their mind is always like racing, right? And so I'm going to touch on a couple of elements that hopefully will serve you guys at the end, especially for those of you who struggle, because the space in your mind is a really, really for lack of better words, a toxic place because of the way that you are thinking and engaging. And so I want to serve some of you guys with some ideas to consider even as you reflect on that. Meditation is key, says K-Man. I'd love to hear how you meditate. And do you do that first thing in the morning, K-Man? Is that something that you found really helpful for you as you're considering your context? I would love to hear what that looks like. This is a good question, though, I think, because it gets us already in that frame of mind first thing in the morning and checking and doing a self assessment on where we're at. I think this is a really helpful thing because it gives us that skill set to be able to touch base with ourselves. Most of us, if you're like me, struggle with not knowing what it's like here in this space where your mind is, where your body is, and how you're feeling. We tend to sort of neglect our bodies and the health our body needs or the attention that our body needs, the love our body needs. And so one of the reasons I love this question is it gets us looking inwards and saying, hey, how are we doing? And it gets us doing this first thing in the morning. Some of us never gets to this point. K-Man says, usually I meditate first thing. I found it lowered my heart rate, which is great. Amazing. So you can have that level of insight and attention paid to the very almost like to the very point of checking your heart rate. That is unbelievable, K-Man. That is amazing. Thanks for sharing that. That's a really inspiring thing. So you have a really close awareness of how your body's doing and how you're engaging that way. I'm like quite thrilled to hear that, K-Man. So along those lines, I would say for me personally, as I consider this question, yes, fantastic question. How do I feel when I first wake up in the morning? Because it gets me checking in with home base. This is like your home base, if you will, your home base from which you're going to engage your day with so many elements in your day. And if we are neglecting our body, we tend to like abuse it. And that's what I've done for many years. I've done that for many years and just pushing my body to do extraordinary things. And it's been really, really unhelpful for me because I'm having to relearn what it looks like to be able to say, hey, what do I think and how do I feel and how am I going to engage my day? What does my body need? And so I love this question for the way it gets me reflecting on home base first. That's a really important starting place. When we are able to check in with ourselves first thing in the morning, man, it sets our day up for knowing how much energy we have to expend, knowing what we can say yes and no to in the course of our day, how we're going to budget our energy throughout the day. I think that's a fantastic thing. Secondly, I love that it's the first thing in the morning because, again, it sets that priority that we are number one. We're number one by way of saying, how do we care for ourselves effectively so that we can make it through the day that we have ahead of us? That's a really important dynamic as well, too. So, really, really helpful point. And thirdly, I think this is a really important point because it gets us doing this by way of a discipline in being active by way of thinking what is going on. Like K-Man is doing, he does this on an ongoing basis, it sounds like, and that's really amazing. Hello to everyone coming in. This is what I'm trying to gauge right now. Love being able to tune in right now for more incredible insight. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's so good to see you, my dear friend. So, along those lines, this is the part I love about this is that it gets us doing this discipline first thing in the morning. This is amazing because usually I think if anything, I've done this at the end of the day. And when we do this at the end of the day, I mean, some people may find this really helpful, but for me, I know if I'm doing this at the end of the day, I'm already like depleted on all my energy resources. I'm just using the reserves of energy in my mind to say, okay, where have I been? What have I done? How have I expended my time? And what have I found really helpful or not helpful? It's almost like you're looking backwards instead of forwards. When you consider doing this at the beginning of your day, it's almost like you're setting your day up for fantastic implementation of those patterns and things that you know you are going to commit yourself to or not commit yourself to. And that because you first of all did an assessment. It's kind of like going on a road trip. Imagine going on a road trip, but not checking your gas meter, your gas gauge to see that you have sufficient gas to get you to your destination. So you're going on a road trip, you're heading out off on the highway, and then you find out perhaps somewhere along the way, far from any resources where you can fill up gas, that you ran out of gas. That's what it's like if we postpone this discipline to the end of the day. But when we answer this question, how do you feel when you first wake up? It's like us checking that gas gauge at the beginning and saying, okay, do we have sufficient gas to make it through the day? What do we need to do to fill up our gas tank? Do we need some alone time, perhaps? Do we need some R&R? Do we need some special measures to be implemented so that we can actually make it through our day if that's what we need? I know that's the worst example, isn't it, Jackson? And yet, that's what I think of by way of an analogy in reference to how important it is for us to consider this question at the outset of the day. Love this question for a variety of reasons. Let's dive into my answers as to why how I feel when I first wake up. Jackson says it's actually kind of scary when you don't have enough gas to get to the gas station. There's some people who live on an adrenaline zone this way, or they push it this way. I may be one of those people who tries to push it to that next level and saying, how far can I get before I really have to get gas? I don't do it as often as I used to, but I still once in a while catch myself doing that. I think I don't do that now, especially just because as an Uber driver, I'm like, nope, I want to make sure I have no unexpecteds like that. Thanks for the anticipation. I love that you're so enthusiastic about what I'm about to share from my perspective. Terra Nova on YouTube live stream says, I wake up hungry. Ooh, that's a good one. A very important point to note, especially if you're going to go out into your day without attending to that need. Wake up hungry. Do you usually eat right before bed, or like do you have your meal a few hours before you go to bed, Tara? I'd love to hear your answer on that one there. I was 3 kilometers in front of a gas tag when, oh my goodness, that is pretty close. That is pretty close. So here are my answers with reference to this question. The question again, for those of you coming in, how do you feel when you first wake up? I was just talking about some of the benefits of this question, which I've never thought about answering before. So this is my first time answering this question. I've never thought to think through this question, especially in relation to getting to know myself and being aware of my body a lot better. There are 3 areas that I wanted to touch on in reference to this question. The first thing I want to touch on is um, I think it's almost like the first thing that comes into my mind and has for the last few years now, and that is by way of gratitude. First thought, if I can just trace it down to like microseconds that it goes through my mind with reference to how do I feel when I first wake up, is I feel tremendous gratitude. Why? Because sleep is one of those things that I've taken great pains to reflect how much I savor on it. I like value my sleep. I love sleeping. I don't prioritize my sleep. I haven't prioritized my sleep. I'm in a season where I'm trying to prioritize my sleep a lot more. But when I get to sleep and when I wake up in the morning, it's like, holy crap, I got a chance to lie my body on this warm and soft bed. It's a blessing, isn't it, to be able to wake up, Jackson? I totally agree. But the very fact that I got a chance to lie down, rest my body, and in resting my body, like lay my head on this pillow, this soft pillow. Holy crap, that is like so amazing for me. So amazing that I got to do that and just check out for a while. And that my body could relax that way. I think that means so much to me because the way I work, it's super hard. Like I work super hard and I push my body. But the fact that I can like let my body relax, lie down, and just sort of go into the zone of sleep. In the morning when I wake up, it's like this momentary reflection of tremendous gratitude. Holy crap, I got to lie down and relax and sleep. This is amazing. And so there's so much gratitude in that first few moments that I'm just, yeah, I'm like, this is an amazing experience. And I don't take it for granted because I know what it's like when I wasn't there once upon a time. I know what it's like when I was depleting my body of energy. And I know what it's like to be like running on fumes because usually I'm running on by the time my day is done, I work such long hours. Like last night, I worked till about, let's see here, I think I came home about 5 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning. I worked right through the night. And by the end of my shift, I know it's time for me to go to bed because I have like almost no more energy left. My reserve goes right down. And so by the time I get home, I'm so thankful to like lie my body on the bed. It's amazing. So I lie down and I have this tremendous feeling of, oh, this is good. I get to lie down and just check out for a while here. Love that feeling. So in the morning when I first wake up, it's just gratitude, like pure gratitude that I got to rest. And this is so good. I thrive on my rest. I love no matter how small it is, I got to like close my eyes and check out. Oh my goodness. And I think I'm so grateful because my sleep is just it's like tight timing when it gets to sleep, right? So gratitude is the first thing that goes through my mind. Tremendous gratitude that I got to rest. I got to rest. Like I'm still blown away by it. It's like, oh man. Jackson says, "Oh my, that's I think 4 a.m. here. You must still be tired. I hope you have a great weekend." Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate that. Hello, Estefania. Good to see you coming in on the live stream as well. So, first thing that I go through is gratitude. Second thing, I have three things that I'm going to share. Second thing that usually goes through my mind is it depends on like how much sleep I got. And this one has to do more with the physical state of my body. Tara says, I eat whenever my body tells me I'm hungry, usually a few hours after work. But some days I fast and skip a day. I usually have a skipped a day every week or two. Okay, I get it, man. Um, I used to do that, but now I know I need to eat every day. If I don't have like my breakfast in the morning, I usually will have a headache throughout the day, which is not my fun place to be. So I usually try to get, I usually try to get some food in me, but I think we're all different in the way our bodies require us. Redskins, I see you coming in. Hello, how are you? So, yes, definitely following gratitude as that first initial response of I got sleep, amazing. My second thing is checking in with my body physically. If I didn't get enough sleep, my body still feels somewhat tired, but I feel it's okay because I'm still going on in my day and I got some sleep, and so that's how I sort of rationalize there. And so, if I didn't get enough sleep, my body still feels somewhat tired, but at least it has some energy in the reserves again. Sometimes, this is rarely though, I wake up with a headache. Sometimes, this is, like I say, extremely rare. I do not like headaches. When I do wake up with a headache, I'm often baffled because one of the ways I treat my headaches, I don't usually take, an Advil or anything like that. I usually try to grab a nap. A 2 hour, 3 hour nap is just sufficient for me to be able to get rid of my headache. But when I wake up with a headache, it's like, this is unusual, because that isn't how my body usually works. So that usually baffles me. And so, Honey Heim says, lack of sleep increases your chance of dying by 50% in all areas. Interesting. I did not know that. But on my end, I would say I'm checking with my body physically and seeing, okay, how am I doing? I know that if I extend my sleep too much, if I oversleep, my body starts doing the reverse. My body starts doing the reverse where I start feeling less rested. So the more I push sleep than what I need, my body starts going the other way and I start feeling more exhausted. And so that doesn't work for me. I can't, I don't want to commit to sleeping in because it does the opposite in its effect for me. It takes away from my rest and my body feels even more like, ugh. So oversleeping does not work for me. If I sleep insufficient hours, my body still feels somewhat tired. There are times when I feel a slight headache when I do wake up, but that's rare. But for the most part, when I wake up, I am usually feeling that sense of feeling rested, especially when I get sufficient sleep. What does sufficient sleep for me look like? It's about, I'd say 6 to 8 hours. That's nice when I get that amount of time. Usually I'm doing about 4 to 5 hours of sleep, which it gets me from day to day, but it doesn't it doesn't leave me feeling optimum, which I should be reflecting and saying, how can I fine tune that and make that a better dynamic for me? Honeyheim says you can learn how much you need to sleep by not setting an alarm. 3 days will tell you how much you need. Okay, that's an interesting thought too. In fact, Honeyheim, that's one of the things I've started doing is I don't use an alarm clock anymore. Given that I control my own schedule as an Uber driver, I sort of love the ability to be able to do that on my own. Any tips on passing second language driver's test in Calgary? Oh my goodness. Watch your speed and watch the signs carefully. Completely stop at all stop signs. That's my suggestion there, friend. But I'm going to keep on topic with the question we're answering of how do we feel when we first wake up? So I feel rested when I get sufficient sleep, which almost entails I should be considering, almost booking that time. There have been some resources that I've come across that have really encouraged saying, hey, how do you be able to, first of all, book your sleep as the first thing in your schedule to show the priority that it needs? And I kind of like that one there, although I haven't followed through on that in my own example quite yet. Sleep is still one of those things that I leave for last, sort of commitment and priority, which is something I should work on. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she said, "Biniam, if I were your secretary, I would take control of your schedule and make sure you're getting enough sleep." And so I appreciate them immensely for that. So, the third element that I want to talk about. So, I've talked so far about the gratitude that I feel when I first wake up in the morning because I actually got to sleep. Secondly, I do a check on my body physically and saying, "Hey, where am I at? What do I need right now in terms of physical energy?" And so, if I have insufficient sleep, I still feel somewhat tired. Um, if I oversleep, I feel like it takes away from the effects of the rest category. And finally, if I get sufficient sleep, I'm feeling quite ready for my day. Terra Nova says, I had a headache when I woke up. It lasted for the first few hours of work, and I gave in and bought some Advil. This is the first time I've used medicine in over a couple of years. I am a sucker. Like, I do not like pain at all. I have a very low threshold for pain, and even the mildest headache just kind of screws up my entire day. So I don't blame you for trying to find relief, man. I usually try to get some naps in if I have a headache, because that's how I sort of battle my headaches. But I've also used Advil, so yeah, I don't think you need to beat yourself up because of it. But I just don't deal well with headaches. The third thing I do in reflecting on um, how I feel when I first wake up is my mental zone, and that's a really important place for me. So I'm trying to figure out, hey, what do I need in my mind to be able to make it through my day by way of rest? And so this is the third category in which it kind of depends on what's going on in my life. It kind of depends. If things are going well, meaning I have things following an order or sequence that resonates with what my commitments are, in that case, then I'm usually thinking along the lines of, everything's going good. So my mind can take a little bit of a break because I don't have to like think actively about what I'm having to engage or see in my day that way. So that's really important for me. If, however, my life is super chaotic and I've got lots of things going on, I'm trying to make things work by way of ends meeting and things along the way. In that scenario, mm, that's when I'll usually be more active in my mind zone. And so when I wake up, I go through the previous two things, yes, but I don't give as much time to them. I don't give much reflection to how I'm feeling physically, nor to the gratitude piece as intentionally. My mind is already thinking, okay, what do I need to be stressing out over in my day today? What do I need to prepare for? What do I need to engage? What do I need to see attended to? And so these are some of the things that I've noticed in my experience as I go through my day. So that mental zone is a pretty important one for me. Now, it so happens that in my life, when stressful things happen, I don't really stress out and lose my cool. I'm usually like very calm and collected as I figure out what I need to attend to in my day. I'm usually good at being able to say, "Hey, what's in front of me, and what do I need to consider working on? How do I put these things into a sequence?" So my mind is very methodical that way, and I usually try to put things into a certain sequence that will enable me to sort of progress forward in a way that reflects this zone in my mind that says, "Okay, this is not game over. I can still work through this in a very systematic way that enables me not to like, lose my cool at all." And I value that. So even in the midst of like very stressful times, my mind still goes into that zone of, okay, what do I need to do first? What's second? What's third? How do I proceed through the sequence of things that are before me? And so I value that element tremendously as well. So those are the three things that I sort of go through when I'm considering, how do I feel when I first wake up. First of all, I'm just feeling that point of gratitude, saying, wow, I got to sleep. This is amazing. Secondly, I'm reflecting on the fact that um, my body, where is it at? Like, how do I feel? And then thirdly, I'm checking my mental state and saying, what does that look like for me? Terra Nova says, after sleeping, do you wake up right away or go back to sleep for another nap? Oh, that's a great question. It depends. It depends. So sometimes I will go back to sleep. if my schedule can allow it, or if my body's like, let's just snooze a little bit longer here. That's a great question, Terranova. So sometimes, like this morning, for example, I woke up a few times. I was like, okay, I don't have to do my podcast as early because I'm planning to do it a little bit later just to see how it fares for some of you in your schedule because you wanted to be a part of this, but a little bit later. And so I kind of snoozed a few times this morning, and I'm always checking my watch to see, like, what the time frame is and what I need to account for as I'm going through it. And so along those lines, yes, sometimes I will sort of snooze a little bit longer and enjoy them. Oh man, I love snoozing. I love snoozing. So that's part of that element too when I'm checking in on myself. And so along those lines, that's what I feel. Today we were answering the question on the Bin Checking In podcast. How do you feel when you first wake up? When I first saw this question, I was like, what a funny question. Like, where do I go with this question? What do I talk about? But I'm seeing the benefit of this question and the importance. And so I'm growing in my ability to be able to do a self-check on myself, to become more self-aware of my body when I think of these things more intentionally, more cognitively. And so I think there's tremendous worth in asking this question. Like I said, again, it's a question I've never asked before. And so asking this question has really given me some insight into me and how I operate and work and how my frame of mind is and what it is that I need and what things I need to maybe implement going forward. And one of those things I'm thinking I need to implement is discipline, perhaps discipline in the context of what do I need to do at this point in time to be able to make it through my day? What do I need to do to be able to make it through my day so that I'm in that good zone? So that's a really important thing for me to reflect on. And so it means that I probably need to prioritize my sleep higher in my schedule so that it's one of my non-negotiables so that I'm able to engage all that I need to in my day. That's a really important reflection for me as I'm considering this question. But what about you guys? What are your thoughts on like, how do you feel when you first wake up in the morning? What are some insights that you're getting as you consider going through this exercise too? It's a really helpful one and one that I'm finding I really benefited from considering. My dear friends, we are coming to the end of today's episode. This has been episode 16. Today is July 23rd, 2021. My name is Biniam. I'm a kindologist. Kindologist for me is simply one who grows in the art of communicating with kindness with others. And that's one of the things I want to work intentionally at. I want to encourage you to consider becoming a fellow kindologist with me. My website has many resources for you to check out. One of them is my membership tier. My membership tier gives you access to me, more access to me, especially through live streams. And I want you to consider going there, checking out my membership tier, considering which one might work well for you, and becoming a part of this community. So at VinnyMasters.com, check out the membership tiers there. I would love to partner with you. I'd love to spend more time with you. I'd love to grow with you as we do this thing called life together. What does that look like as we encourage each other forward? So go check that out, and let's look for more opportunities and where we can keep in touch. I can encourage you along the sidelines. This has been the Bin Checking In podcast, episode 16. So thankful for you guys and the encouragement along the way. I really do appreciate you guys engaging with me this way. This is what I'm doing by way of trying to grow an awareness of myself, maximize my happiness, and learn to be kind to myself. And I want to share that gift with you guys as well as we do this. So I want to say thank you for walking alongside with me, guys. We're still at the early outset of this podcast, but I can see this becoming huge. But I want to say how much I appreciate you guys for at the outset joining me in this journey. I very much value your participation, your encouragement, and your camaraderie. This is a worthwhile endeavor to partner together on. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining in. This is the Bin Checking In podcast. This is Biniam, your host. Really appreciating you guys. Hoping you have a fantastic Friday today. Looking forward to touching base with you on the next episode of the Bin Checking podcast, where we can grow together, where we can learn to be kind to ourselves together, and where we can maximize our happiness. Until then, I hope to hear from you in some way. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.